Welcome, Quinn.
Oh, thanks. Thanks for having me.
Quinn Mason is a composer and conductor based in Dallas, Texas. His music has been performed by numerous orchestras, bands, and chamber ensembles around the world. He has also won awards from organizations such as American Composers Forum, the Philadelphia Youth Orchestra, and ASCAP. He also conducts and has guest conducted orchestras around the country. Yeah, well, thank you for being here. I checked out some of your music beforehand, and I definitely have a favorite. The Irish Jig, the second movement you did, Air and Real. I really love that one so much. It was so nice.
Oh, oh, thank you. That's piece that wrote that piece when I was like 20, so I'm surprised it held up so well.
Yeah, no, it was really good, and I liked your newest work as well. This Svitani. I don't know if I'm saying that right.
No, that's close enough.
Okay. But what is your inspiration for the work that you do?
Well, it used to be. I mean, it's changed over the years. I mean, when I was a teenager, I was just like getting started with it, so I was seeing what I wanted to write and how I wanted to write it, and I was doing a lot of experimentation. But sometime in my late teens, early 20s, I discovered that my music had the power to speak to people deeply and had these deep kind of rooted emotions and feelings that I didn't know how to express any through any way else besides through music. And so I guess around that time my music took a turn for the introspective, and I started writing about subjects I like thinking deeply about, and subjects that connect to people as a whole widely. And I think for that reason it's been successful because a lot of people can relate to it, and they feel like it. I mean, one comment I got one time is that it's music that touches the soul, and I agree completely, because when I write it comes from the soul. So I guess main inspiration for my music now is the world around me.
I think your music definitely does touch the soul because while I was listening to it, I could I was seeing like pictures in my head or like a movie, like how things were just playing out. And I like to have music playing in the background while I work that has this that has movement in it and that kind of can feel a little bit cinematic at times. And I feel like your music definitely has like a cinematic effect to it. Have you composed for any movies?
No, actually, I haven't. I've gotten that a lot. That they say that a lot of my music will work well in the background of a movie, and it's something I wouldn't rule out if I were offered the opportunity to.
Okay. And I know that cartoons, they have like, especially Looney Tunes, they have a lot of orchestral music playing in that. So yeah, it will be really cool to see what you do with that. Are you interested in that, or are you interested in just composing for orchestras?
I mean, I've done all sorts of composing for all sorts of ensembles. And I kind of stepping outside of my comfort zone, exploring different horizons. So, I mean, having experience with different genres, different instrumentations, I could definitely, if I were thrown a challenge, I could definitely see if I could rise to the occasion.
Okay. What song makes you cry?
Honestly, that's a really interesting and difficult question. I'm thinking about whether a song has made me cry. I don't think it has. Not yet, at least.
A song has never made you cry? Oh my gosh. I wish you have one of those experiences because honestly, I have two songs that make me cry. One is Earl Clue, Hotel California. That one makes me cry every time. I don't know why. That music just has an effect on me. And then the newest one is Vicino a Te by Stelvio Cipriani.
I have not heard those two.
What music deeply moves you then?
Music that came deeply from within them and comes out well throughout the musicians. I guess I'm trying to think of a few examples of that. I just can't.
Okay. When was the first time you heard an orchestra play your song, and what were you feeling?
I guess my professional debut was when I was, let's see, how old was I? 23. I think September of 2019. My first commission, which was for the Dallas Symphony, was premiered. Actually received that commission when I was 21. So yeah, I was 23 when it premiered. And it was definitely several years in the making. I didn't just get it. I had to work on my orchestral craft for like 10 years at that point. Mm-hmm. And it was very satisfying seeing something I had worked very hard on come together in front of a live audience. The audience was appreciative of it, and the orchestra was appreciative of it. And yeah, it went off well.
What about your parents?
Well, I just have my mom, and she just lets me do it. I mean, she knows what I do, so she is supportive, encouraging. And whenever I leave the house and say, I'm going to Minneapolis for a few days, I'll be back, she knows what I'm doing. So
okay, shout out to mom. What was your experience playing abroad?
Could you repeat that, please?
What was your experience playing abroad?
I mean, I've never been out of the country.
Oh, okay. So you composed a song that was played abroad then?
Yes.
Right. Well, what was that like? I mean, like your song got international play. What songs got international play?
As of right now, one piece called the Joys Trilogy, which got played by the Italian National Radio Orchestra in Italy. It was broadcast over the internet during the pandemic, and that performance is actually online, so you can go see it. And yeah, it was interesting because I've only been used to working with American orchestras, hearing how a foreign orchestra full of people who speak a language I don't know how to speak interpret an American piece of music. So that was fascinating.
Can you talk a little bit more about that? Because I don't understand why.
Well, so I mean, American orchestras play American music in a certain way, and foreign orchestras play American music in a certain way. Like if you try to hear like a German orchestra try to play like jazz music, it'll sound extremely different than how Americans play it because of schooling and how they interpret swing rhythm and things like that. So I mean, when you have a piece that's not even 3 years old, it's still fairly new, it's been played by American orchestras, and then you take it to Italy, it's definitely different view of how they perceive it.
Okay. That's really interesting. I'll have to look more at that. Can we talk more about your work, Svitani? Listen, you have to give me the correct pronunciation to this word.
No, you're saying it right.
I did. Oh, yay. Go me. But yeah, can we talk a little bit more about that work and just your inspiration behind it?
So that piece was originally written for the Musical Nova Orchestra, Phoenix, Arizona. And originally, my first appearance with them was going to be 2 years ago, yeah, in which I was going to conduct Irish dance piece. But the pandemic happened, and I got to thinking about my future engagement and whether I would come back, and what I would want to do with them. So I decided to write them a new piece, and knowing it would be premiered during a time when the pandemic was kind of starting to ease up, I wanted to write a piece about rebirth, and that the result was that piece. It's a piece of Svitani, really literally means sunrise or rebirth, and it's a piece that looks ahead to hopeful future times, and scored for strings only. I think it's, I don't say this about much of my music, but I think it's definitely one of my most favorite pieces I've written. So much so that when I'm called to conduct the strings program, I always usually program that piece. That's another piece that speaks deeply to the audience because of how relevant it is. I mean, it's a piece that it's hopeful, it's bright, it gives people hope, and it reaches down and it touches their soul, and in a way that it says, everything will be okay, I just think it's a transcendent, ethereal piece of music that audiences just absolutely meditate with. Like, my intention it's been met with that piece.
I really appreciated Svitani. I'm gonna say it because I know how to say the word now. I really appreciated the first. You call it an act, right?
An act?
Right. Do you call it an act, or is it would that be a movement too?
A movement.
Yeah. Okay. Right. I really appreciate the first movement because I felt like I could look back over like when COVID just happened and stuff like that, and just hearing like, oh, we're gonna be in the house, and it just. I felt the uncertainty, like in the way they were playing the notes so lightly, and then also there was tension in that moment too. Like, okay, like what do we do next? So yeah, no, that piece was definitely really exciting, and like hearing the backstory behind it, I think definitely gives me more appreciation for the music itself, because I don't know, like sometimes when you're listening to music, you have your own experience, but hearing what the composer has to say behind it, and what they intended to create it for, I don't know, it just heightens the experience a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree.
What was your favorite piece to compose?
Maybe that one.
Yeah, okay. I'm surprised you didn't say your Irish Dance Suite, but yeah.
Well, I wrote that in a night, so.
You wrote that in a night? Wow, okay. All right, that's cool.
I wanted to see if I would do it, so I wrote that literally in one night.
Okay, wow. I'm impressed. How does outreach help fuel your work?
Outreach is something I'm very passionate about. It's not even a recent thing. I've been doing it for years now, and I'm passionate about it because I'm a product of it. Like way back in 2006, attended my first symphony concert. Went to the Dallas Symphony Orchestra, and I was 10. It's my very first time hearing live music, and I very much fell in love with the orchestra. And that kind of set me on the path, and that's why we're speaking here today. And so I do realize the importance of getting out into the community and kind of reaching the younger generation through engagement in the real. I mean, nowadays we have like this platform, we have Zoom, so it's not the same. It's not the same as going into the classroom and looking people in the eye and engaging with them that way. So whenever I go to an orchestra, I make it a point to, whether I speak with a youth group or a community center, I've also spoken at retirement homes and things like that. I've also done outreach like conducted rehearsals of youth orchestras and gave master classes and things like that. And it basically not only to show them that classical music is for them, but to also like draw interest, pique their interest into the world of the orchestra. Usually I work with the orchestra, and I've had this experience where I've also presented at youth concerts. I presented my pieces. I did it with the Detroit Symphony Orchestra, and just about a week ago I did it with the Minnesota Orchestra. And it was fantastic because they had like, I think the young age range of the audience was like 5 to 10, so very young kids, but very engaged in the music, very interested, and I mean, it just kind of reminded me of me when I was younger. How like I heard the sound of that orchestra, it was just beautiful thing, and so it's extremely important to me that I do this work to show them that the orchestra is not just this thing where the orchestra can be a fun place to experience live music. Basically is my whole premise for doing this thing.
What did you talk about at the retirement homes?
That was a co-presentation I did with the music director or the conductor of the orchestra I was working with. And we presented about my piece, and we presented about another piece of the program. And basically kind of, I guess they were this was in Seattle. Mm-hmm. They were longtime Seattle residents, and they were very fascinated about the process of composing music, even though most of them had done music earlier in their lives. They were still fascinated about the creation of music. So that's what I presented about.
That's beautiful. Who are two mentors that have had a poignant effect on you, and are you currently mentoring anyone?
Yes, two great mentors of mine. First and foremost, Will White lives in Seattle. That was the conductor I was presenting with. He conducts Harmonia Seattle Orchestra and chorus. And we met, I think, almost 5 or 6 years ago when I reached out to him to ask him a question. And we had this very fascinating phone call. He's been a champion of my pieces ever since. He commissioned my Joys Trilogy from me and invited me to conduct the premiere back in February of 2020. That's now one of my most popular pieces. And I'm currently writing my Symphony No. 5 for him. So there's one. Another one is my friend, man, I have so many great mentors. I don't even know. Edwin Outwater lives in San Francisco, music director of the San Francisco Conservatory. Very helpful, generous with his time, has played my pieces with the San Francisco Symphony. Amazing friend too. Sometimes we just talk about whatever. So yeah, thank you, Will, and Edwin. And I do realize the importance of mentorship and how being a guiding light to someone is going to show them on their way. And I've been working with a young, I guess she's a music student. Her name is Claire. She lives in St. Paul, Minnesota. I saw her last week for the first time. And it was similar to where she reached out to me, and I had a call with her, and I gave her advice. And I've been kind of helping her find her way in the music business and her music career for about 2 years now, or a year. And it's similar to Will and I's relationship. So.
Well, I'm glad that experience is coming full circle for you, and that you are mentoring someone. This is your first mentee, right?
Yes.
Well, congratulations.
Well, it's enjoyable so far.
What does a day in the life of a composer look like?
Lots of sleep. that's where all the work is done.
Really?
Well, I'm not lying. I mean, most of my ideas come to me in my sleep. Well, some of them might come to me at random times too. But I find that the more I rest, the more I'm prepared for these sessions where I have to create music, because it's not easy, you know. Even when I was younger, it would be like, how do I put these 12 notes in a certain order, you know? But it's very satisfying work. A lot of rest, a lot of taking it easy, and a lot of study of different types of music, a lot of reading. I don't really watch TV. Actually, I don't watch TV at all. So mostly read, write, listen to podcasts. That's it.
Okay. I have to say, that's not what I expected. I thought you were going to say, go on vacations, travel to the mountains, and, have solitary time.
Well, I mean, I try to find time for solitary, but yeah, all my travel is for work. I mean, I don't really travel for vacation yet. Yeah, some people it may be a very boring life, but as of right now, it works for me.
It doesn't sound boring. It sounds like you're very passionate about what you do, and you found something that really made you happy, and you're able to, work your passion full time. So that doesn't sound boring. And you're finding ways to support yourself while you're, creating the life that you want. So that sounds cool.
I got lucky. Not a lot of people become full-time composers at the age of 26. So I got lucky.
Congratulations, by the way. Where do you create, and how do you set the mood to begin writing?
Well, I mean, it's really, I write wherever I'm able to. There's really nothing mystical about it, because usually if I'm on deadlines, I just have to do it, It's like, practicing. You just have to find that time to practice, and you just got to do it to keep your skills up. So when it comes to work, find the place to do it and just do it. I know some people, require like candles to be lit, or for it to be a completely dark room. I'm not extra like that. I just, when it's time to work, it's time to work.
And what was one of the most rewarding experiences in your career?
Definitely. Well, if I have to pick one, when all the orchestras I work with, I always bring something special to the table. Last week with the Minnesota Orchestra was very special. The organization was just extremely friendly. Everybody was nice. The orchestra was nice. The musicians were very complimentary of my work. The conductor was amazing to work with, and the energy at the concert was just electric. And I really, really enjoyed that experience last week. Everybody was nice. Everybody from the sound guy to the stage hand was just like amazing. You don't really get that in many places, but with the Minnesota Orchestra, they really like their jobs up there. And so, yeah, I'm definitely excited for the next time I get to work with them.
And what big goal have you recently accomplished, and what would you like to accomplish next?
I mean, I guess the big goal was getting my first long-term association with an orchestra, the Hartford Symphony. And so I'm very much looking forward to working with them over the next season. And I guess what I'm looking forward to accomplishing next is doing some of my most important work in the second half of this season, including conducting the National Symphony Orchestra in DC, and touring my Symphony Number 4, which is this huge piece for band that was supposed to be premiered 2 years ago, but it's finally getting its premiere in a couple of months. And then from there, it'll tour several colleges around the United States. So,
That's absolutely amazing. And congratulations on the Hartford Symphony Orchestra. Like, I'm really looking forward to the piece that you compose. So I'll have to stay tuned, just like everybody else will, to see what you come up with.
Thank you.
I did. Do you Can I ask you one last question before we go? Um,
Of course, you can ask me anything you want.
how well? How are you going to inspire yourself for the work that you're going to do here in Connecticut, or the things that you're going to compose here in Connecticut?
Well, I have 4 chances to get inspired because I'm visiting Hartford 4 times next year, or beginning of September. And throughout the year, I'm visiting Hartford 4 times. I get time to meet the orchestra, meet the community, see what's going on up there, engage with the community, and hopefully get inspired that way. And because it's not due until April, I have plenty of time to take everything in and see what comes out.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Quinn, and thank you everyone for sticking around and watching. If you are interested in learning more about Quinn, please head over to his website, which will be linked in the description down below, and follow him on social media and keep up on his journey with the Hartford Symphony Orchestra so that you can listen to his new piece. All right. Bye, everyone.